Hey, what's up, and welcome to the Nutrition Kitchen, the science behind. I'm with my nutrition guru, Sahra Pak.
Hi, Keon. So today we're talking about cheese pizza. Show me what you cooked up with Chef Pollard.
Of course. So I have level 1, my typical frozen cheese pizza. Level 2 is my homemade pizza with pre-made crust, part skim mozzarella and added veggies. And then level 3 is a pizza with cauliflower crust, light on the cheese, heavy on the veggies. So what's going on with this cheese pizza?
Well, let's start with where we always do, with the ingredients. Whether it's delivery or frozen or even homemade, there are 3 basic ingredients here: pizza dough, tomato sauce, and cheese. And just like bread or tortillas, the main ingredient in pizza dough is flour. Although it's common to use a blend of different wheat flours for pizza, most pizza flours are very similar to bread flours. Not only does pizza dough have a similar gluten content to bread dough, it also uses yeast. Activated yeast generates carbon dioxide, and the gluten in the dough traps the carbon dioxide, which makes the dough rise. One difference between pizza dough and bread dough is that pizza dough generally has an added fat, which enhances texture and flavor. And just like most breads, flour tortillas, pancakes, spaghettis, and so many other foods, most pizza doughs are made with enriched flour. And Keon, enriched flour is?
High in calories, low in beneficial nutrients, and heavily processed. I think I'm catching on.
Yes, you are. You're becoming a budding dietitian.
Yes.
As usual, the simplest way to replace enriched flour products is to just use
100% whole wheat flour products.
Exactly. 100% whole wheat crust is a good level 2 option, unless your grocery store doesn't carry it. If you ever can't find the ingredient you're looking for, just pick your next best option. That's what we did. Even pre-made enriched flour crusts are an upgrade because you can control the rest of the ingredients, and it's easier to control the portions. But if you want to upgrade even more, then you can try out our level 3 cauliflower crust.
I'm not gonna lie, with the cauliflower crust, I was a little iffy at first, but Chef Pollard might have made me a believer. So walk me through what's in the cauliflower crust.
Cauliflower crusts are typically made from riced cauliflower, which is just cauliflower that has been cut into small pieces. But unlike wheat flour, you can't just mix rice cauliflower with water and get dough. You need something to help the cauliflower pieces bind to each other. 2 common ingredients that are used as binding agents include starches or eggs.
Okay, which of those binders do you prefer? Is it starches or eggs?
Well, the typical starches used as binders like cornstarch are usually high in calories, low in beneficial nutrients, and heavily processed. In fact, they are very similar to enriched flour, so we chose eggs. But if you want to upgrade even more, you can substitute an egg with a mixture of ground flaxseed and water and make something known as a flax egg to get that boost of fiber and phytochemicals.
Okay, we've talked about oats before. I think that covers all the other main ingredients in the cauliflower crust. But what about the cauliflower itself? Is ricing the cauliflower like refining wheat into enriched flour, where it strips all the beneficial nutrients?
That's a really good question. No, riced cauliflower is just cauliflower chopped into small pieces. It isn't separated into fractions like wheat, so none of the nutrients are stripped away. And riced cauliflower is typically frozen, so the nutrients won't spoil even though no artificial ingredients or preservatives are added. Like regular cauliflower, riced cauliflower is low in calories, rich in beneficial nutrients like fiber, protein, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals, and it's minimally processed.
Okay, that settles cauliflower. So let's move on to the next ingredient, mozzarella cheese. First, what is that made of?
The main ingredient is cow's milk, unless you're making buffalo mozzarella cheese, which uses milk from water buffalo. That isn't super common in the US, but it is in Italy. But we'll stick with cow's milk in traditional mozzarella cheese. Regular mozzarella cheese uses whole milk.
So I'm assuming part skim mozzarella uses part skim milk. Is that another name for 2%?
Great question again, Keon. Part skim milk isn't a formal term. but technically all milks are part skim. Milk is usually separated into two components, skim milk and milk fat. Then varying amounts of milk fat are added back to the skim milk to make the various non-skim milks, 1%, 2%, and even whole milk, or as I call it, 3.25%. Then those various milks can be either sold or transformed into other dairy products. But part skim mozzarella just refers to the fact that it has more skim milk than traditional mozzarella.
Whoa, so that's a lot to digest. Did you say whole milk is only 3.25%?
I sure did. Milks are labeled by their percent fat by weight. Whole milk must have a minimum of 3.25% milk fat by weight.
Well, now that milk is covered, we can talk about the other ingredients. What else is in mozzarella cheese?
Well, the other ingredients are bacteria, or acid, rennet, and salt. It's probably easier to explain the non-milk ingredients if we go straight to the processing.
Okay then, so how is mozzarella cheese processed?
It all starts with a pasteurized cow's milk, meaning the milk has to be heated for a certain period of time to kill any microbes. The milk is cooled, then bacteria are added that convert milk sugar or lactose to lactic acid. The milk is heated to maximize the activity of these bacteria. Then an enzyme is added to help the milk curdle, a term that describes a change in milk proteins so that they bind to each other. Most of the fat in milk stays attached to these proteins, which causes the fat-protein mix to separate from water, kind of like oil separating from water. You can also curdle milk using heat or an acid, but most commercial cheeses are curdled using an enzyme called rennet. Rennet is naturally found in the stomach of ruminating animals, but can now be made from other plants, animals, and even molds. Any of these options can be labeled enzymes on the ingredients list, but sometimes you'll see the term rennet.
I'm getting a little grossed out here, but go ahead, continue.
After the milk curdles, the liquid called whey is drained off from the curds, which are the solid lumps. From there, the curds are pressed into slabs and then stacked to allow more whey to drain. Then the drier curds are heated, then kneaded. This kneading forces the proteins into strands, helping develop that stretchy mozzarella texture. Then the cheese is shaped and brined. That's when the salt is added. Then it's packaged. During that process, fresh mozzarella cheese may be aged for a few days. Mozzarella cheese used for pizza is typically aged 1 to 3 weeks. By definition, the final mozzarella cheese must be between 52 and 60% moisture, or water by weight. This makes mozzarella a soft cheese, as anything over 50% moisture is considered a soft cheese. And to be labeled regular mozzarella cheese, the solids portion of the cheese must be at least 45% milk fat. If you do the math, that means mozzarella cheese is at least 18% milk fat by weight. So you can see how processing milk into cheese concentrates that fat. And there are low moisture varieties of mozzarella that concentrate the fat even further. Many regular mozzarella cheeses are around 20 to 25% milk fat by weight, and over half of that is saturated fat.
Oh, not again. First my ground beef, now my cheese too? Does the cheese at least come in a better package?
Good question. Saturated fat comes in a lot of different packages. It can be minimally processed like cottage cheese, or heavily processed like American cheese. It can come with or without added sugars like flavored or plain full-fat yogurts, respectively. And it can come with varying levels of other nutrients. Coconut oil is almost exclusively a saturated fat with minimal other nutrients, while cocoa powder contains fiber, protein, minerals, and phytochemicals. There are even some high-fiber foods with zero saturated fat that are turned into saturated fats by bacteria in our gut. These are called short-chain fatty acids, and they have a lot of health benefits.
Okay, I think I get it. So not all saturated fats come in the same package. What about the mozzarella cheese package?
Mozzarella cheese essentially has all the nutrients of the milk it came from. Milk itself is a massive topic that we won't go into today. But it is worth pointing out that, like all dairy products, mozzarella cheese is missing an important nutrient, fiber, which only comes from plants. And over 90% of Americans don't get enough fiber, and that causes a lot of health issues.
Ooh, 90%. So since that probably includes me, we gotta talk more about that sometime. But for now, let's move on to how processing affects the mozzarella cheese package.
Well, the processing of mozzarella cheese removes a lot of the water and some of the protein, making it higher in calories, lower in beneficial nutrients, and more processed than milk. The processing leads to a higher concentration of saturated fat in mozzarella cheese compared to whole milk. This is similar for many cheeses. In fact, cheese is the #1 source of saturated fat for most Americans. The average American eats over 36 pounds of cheese per year, which is more than most fruits, vegetables, or legumes. So we certainly don't need to look for ways to add more cheese to our diets. Instead, for those people who love the flavor and texture of cheese, it's best to use as little cheese as possible and combine it with lots of level 3 foods.
Oh, so more like a condiment then.
Exactly.
Oh, so what about all these cheese alternatives like this one?
Actually, you asked the right person. I don't eat dairy, but I still love pizza. Some cheese alternatives have a lot of processed ingredients, but there are some great mods for cheese pizza, like almond-based cheeses, cashew-based cheeses, and nooch.
Nooch? What's that?
Nooch, nutritional yeast. It's all the rage. It's basically just deactivated yeast with a bunch of vitamins, but it has a nice cheesy texture, and it's really low in sodium.
Oh, and that's at the commissary?
Sure is. It's on the level 3 pizza Chef made with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't know it was called nooch too, but it blended in with the other cheese, so maybe I like it. Well, we talked about tomato paste and purees before, so then we just have the veggies to talk about.
Yes, one of the best ways to upgrade a meal is by adding vegetables to whatever you're eating. Virtually all vegetables are higher in nutrients and minimally processed, right? And essentially all spices and herbs are level 3 foods too. They add great flavor and phytochemicals without adding any significant amount of calories and no baggage.
Ooh, okay, my spice sensei is gonna like that one. Thanks, Sahra.
Thanks, always a pleasure, Keon.
And thank you for watching Nutrition Kitchen, the science behind. I hope you learned as much as I did, and we're out.